sound with this?
Yep. Working.
Freedom of information.
Freedom of information.
FOIA.
I like this song. It gets me in the mood to request documents.
Friday.
Oh, looks like my Facebook isn't connected.
The echo cancellation is not working with Crystal's mic right now, but that's okay because we're gonna cut this out right now. Yeah. All right, Crystal, welcome. How you doing?
Good. Am I echoing or something?
No, when there's music playing and you're talking, I think the music wins or something. I can hear that
Okay.
you're talking, but I can't hear what you're saying.
Okay. Well, I was
Yeah.
just saying my Facebook wasn't connecting, but now I think it is. We'll see.
Now your Facebook is connected. Everything is A-okay. It's FOIA Friday, and I'm excited because I done some FOIAs and I set up my own USDA thing, but I figure we could do that in just a little bit. Why don't we kick it off with the FOIA that you've already been working on because you got a lot, and I'll just
Sure.
sneak one in.
Let me share my screen here then. I'm just sharing. This is our FOIA Friday outline.
Yeah.
See what it looks like. Okay, so this is what I have found this week is I found this cool email list of state animal health officials. Let me just pull this up.
How did you find this cool animal health officials
I
list?
was Googling the email. I was looking for the email address of the state vet of Arizona. And this came up, and this is the U.S. Animal Health Association.org, which I think is an Animal Ag Alliance aligned organization. Like they're very industry friendly, but they have this nice list of all of the state vets email addresses, which is perfect because if there's something going on in a state, you want to get the emails from these state vets referencing whoever, or like emails between the state vet and Cargill or the Animal Ag Alliance or the Pork Board or whoever. You know, so it's nice to have these specific emails instead of just FOIAing the department and hoping that they'll send you the right documents. Or I was thinking any mention of H5N1 or Hickman's or whatever. So that was cool. So this week I FOIA'd the Arizona Department of Health Services, and I actually did have ChatGPT help me draft this. And I honestly don't think that this is going to be a super productive FOIA, but I'm just going to try it out. I asked, on behalf of Our Honor, a nonprofit organization dedicated to understanding government responses to infectious disease outbreaks, I am submitting this public records request pursuant to Arizona Revised Statutes Section 39-121. I respectfully request access to and copies of all communications records and documents held by the Arizona Department of Health Services from May 1st, which is before the outbreaks happened, 2025 to present, that relate to the detection, response, or public health impact of highly pathogenic avian influenza H5N1 in Arizona. Specifically, I am seeking records that relate to H5N1 avian influenza outbreaks involving animal agriculture facilities, including but not limited to egg farms or dairy operations. I imagine the health department wouldn't have that much data on this. But it's also telling that they don't. Like, this is a public health crisis. Like, they should be advising workers on how to stay safe. And I imagine they might not be doing a good enough job. Public health surveillance, case investigations, testing, or worker safety guidance at these facilities. Internal and external communications involving agencies such as the Arizona Department of Agriculture, Maricopa County Department of Public Health, the U.S. Department of Agriculture, Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Immigration, Customs, and Enforcement. I thought was interesting. Customs and Border Protection and or Border Patrol, Any records that reference enforcement actions or investigations involving migrant workers, immigration raids, detention activity, or collaboration with immigration enforcement entities, public health advisories, meeting notes, draft or final policy documents, outreach materials, or press communications regarding the outbreak. I request that the records be provided in electronic format and sent to Heath@ourhonor.org.
Yeah.
And then I also pushed ChatGPT to help me get a fee waiver. And they came up with, this request is being made for non-commercial public interest purposes. I respectfully request that any associated fees be waived or reduced under Arizona Revised Statute Section 39121.01D, blah, blah, blah.
I love that. I don't think we're going to get much out of ICE just because, like, ever since ICE is under Department of Homeland Security, it's like every time you try to do Homeland Security, we don't get anything or so far.
Well, I am not requesting this from ICE.
Oh.
I am requesting this, any communications that the Arizona Department of Health Services has had with ICE. And you can
I like it.
around this. Like, I have asked for the Pork Board for communications that they've had with FBI. I've tried to FOIA the FBI before, and that isn't very productive. Although, some people have been able to, after much trials and tribulations, have been able to get some documents from the FBI. But if we FOIA these agencies and ask other agencies and ask for their communications with these agencies that are more difficult to FOIA, we might get some communications that way. Or anybody within, I don't know what ICE's email addresses would be, but I asked for like any communications with @fbi.gov email addresses and things like that. And
I'm checking to see if there's an ice.gov right now. There is an ice.gov, so maybe that's their email address.
Ask for any communications with ice.gov email addresses. So that might be something we can do in the future. And I also did sort of similar FOIA requests to the Maricopa County Department.
Well, you just gave me another idea too, though. I mean, that's why we're doing this live, right? It's because I've been thinking a lot about Jim Costa. In fact, I filmed a little video about Jim Costa and how he's a representative in California, and he's the congressperson who has taken the most amount of money from animal agricultural industries, agribusiness donors, and in this just a few years, he's taken over $400,000 from meat industry groups and corporations. And anyway, I've been thinking a lot about this guy. Why can't I just FOIA his emails with these companies, with these same,
these agencies? Yes,
these agencies.
Yeah.
But he's a public official. Can't I get his emails from, because he's
you should be able
congress.gov or something, right?
You could definitely try. Sure, give it a try, but also try other agencies and his communications with other agencies too. See what you get faster.
Yeah, seeing as how his money is tied so intimately with agribusiness and animal flesh businesses in particular, I feel like he'd be kind of easy pickings. He's Mr. Tulare. And yeah.
Is he the Tulare guy? Okay, that's good.
Yeah, I think his district is Tulare. He is a big district because he's one of these some of these rural districts in California, the land is just so massive, right? It's pretty significant because there's just aren't many people there the way the lines are drawn. I'm in the 40th district, and it's a small district because there's so many people so close together. And, I think, but I don't know. I think it'd be really interesting to try to see just those emails to these companies and to these agencies.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely.
I'm gonna do that.
I recommend.
And that's a good thing for people watching at home right now or on their phones. Like, if you've got a politician that you want to know what they're up to, maybe maybe FOIA their emails with the agencies that you think are the shadiest or the most interesting. You'd be surprised what you'll turn up. You got to start looking under stones if you want to find fancy beetles.
Yeah. And right now I am on the road. I'm at Echo Lake right now, and I am streaming using my Nomad Air. So see how the connection is. Right now it looks like I have all the bars. So yeah, we'll see how this thing holds up. It's been glitchy, but I think I've figured it out. I just yeah.
That's pretty cool.
I tried to get my Rode Pro mics working on my phone as the audio, but that didn't work. So now I'm just doing audio off of my MacBook Pro.
When you say Echo Lake, you mean Echo Park?
There's a little lake here. I think it's called Echo Lake, but it might be Echo Park.
In Los Angeles, not in New Hampshire.
Echo Park. Yeah, I guess it's called Echo Park. So.
Yeah, Echo Park. Yeah. I've been to Echo Park. And there's a lake inside of Echo Park, though, too. Maybe it's called Echo Lake.
There's actually people fishing here, which I was kind of surprised.
Yeah, they fish, and there's boats you can go on. It's like a recreational.
Swan boats.
Yeah, you should go get one in. You could get your steps in. You paddle them yourselves over there in Echo Park, Echo Lake. Maybe it's called Echo Lake. I don't know.
No,
I just wanted to make sure you were still in California.
There's the public art Lady of the Lake, which is some public statue, which I'm not sure.
I love that area, Echo Park. That's where PETA has a headquarters in Echo Park.
I need to find it before it closes down.
It's on Sunset and Echo Park. Yeah, it's there. Echo Park's gorgeous. It's also where Cheech Marin did East LA. So I want to show everyone what I worked on today. It's not as involved as yours, but I do have stuff that I did. I did an Echo Park shit. That's not what I meant to say. I did an FOIA today too.
Mine, and you can show yours.
Yeah. So I did one so I've been having a long conversations with ChatGPT, and this is where I want to show everybody how easy it is. Like, I actually asked ChatGPT, I'm like, hey, I'm really interested in JBS because they're a Brazilian-owned company, and something happened this year that really bothers me. They gave $5 million to Donald Trump for his inauguration committee, and all of a sudden, even though they weren't allowed to be on the New York Stock Exchange for many years due to their their multiple bribery scandals and illegal deforestation of the Amazons.
Is that why they haven't been allowed? Wow.
Yeah, that's why they weren't allowed, which means there must be evidence of them rejecting them and telling them this is why. I want that evidence, but there's also I want to see what kind of investigations were going on. It bothers me that all of a sudden this year, after giving $5 million to the Trumpster, they're now totally okay with this. So I did a FOIA request first with OSHA. I have not heard back. I've heard from Crystal and others now that OSHA is just one that doesn't get back in a timely fashion, which is okay.
And also, like, there's a thing with FOIA is they don't want to divulge any information about companies usually. So you have to be sneaky about how you ask for company information usually. You don't want to. So
well, I did. I mean, it's funny because I did look at. It's funny because I asked for the justification. I said, it's public interest and contributes significant to public understanding of government operations on worker safety and large-scale animal slaughter facilities, which is the first one I did. So that was the one I did last week, was OSHA. That's my slow burner. I'm hoping that it'll come back eventually. OSHA inspects them. I want their inspection reports. I want their records pertaining to implementation or effects of slaughter line speed increases and waivers. I want to know about how the reports on their COVID-19 outbreaks, their employee illness rates, worker deaths, and whistleblower complaints, which I've heard there have been many during, especially COVID, with these particular slaughterhouses in Greeley, Grand Island, Nebraska, Worthington, Minnesota, and Hiram, Utah. And so I'm guiding ChatGPT a lot, but planting seeds and kind of having these conversations with the chat bot helped me a lot, helped me get to where I want to go. So then now I've done the SEC. I just did the SEC one on the Security and Exchange Committee. They're the ones that actually decided to let them on the NYSE after years of being rejected. So I want to know why. I asked for investigations, enforcements, actions, subpoenas, inquiries involving JBS, JBSA, JBS Holdings, and Pilgrim's Pride. I wanted the allegations or evidence of financial fraud, bribery, or foreign corrupt practices because I know there is, because they've been convicted. They paid the largest fine in Brazilian history because of this, of their foreign corrupt practices. The disclosure of material risk to investors, which is exactly why they were rejected. So I want that. Violations of SEC disclosure rules or Sarbanes-Oxley requirements. So I had to look up what Sarbanes-Oxley requirements was, and what that is it's an act that mandated requirements for public companies to ensure accurate financial reporting and to protect investors. So they have to submit this, and that has to be public. Now, on the SEC, they do have a searchable database that I find very difficult to navigate, but JBS comes up a lot, and there's a lot of files and photographs and stuff like that already in there.
Anything interesting?
I couldn't, to be honest, like I was down that rabbit hole a little bit, and I was like, this is something I've got to look deeper into. It was, no, not yet, but they have all their filings for years of them trying to be in there, but they don't have the reports of why they're getting rejected and stuff. But they do have scans and some photographs, some images, that is, and I need to look more into it.
What kind of photographs did you see?
A lot of it was just paperwork, signatures, logos, logo submissions, stuff like that. But I only spent maybe like 45 minutes on the SEC. I was trying to submit a FOIA, and what I did, I saw they had a searchable database and started digging around in there at the sec.gov. And here's my, request for copies of documents submitted. But you can also request any document that that they had to file through the SEC. And so that's something new that I found out. And I want to, I'm not my economic, I took econ in high school and a little bit in college. I'm not an expert on this. You know what I mean? I know a little bit, but I feel like this is exactly why we need to have other people working on this. There's somebody out there right now, and maybe somebody watching knows somebody who could help us parse some of the documents that are already available on a company like JBS or Smithfield. Smithfield's the other one I want to look into.
Calmaine, because Calmaine's on the stock exchange. I bought
Calmaine too. So both of them.
A few weeks ago, I bought some Calmaine stock. It's up. It was up 11% in just the past few weeks. I bought it, and I bought it while it was high. I was just, buying it just to see what happens with it,
just to watch it. Yeah, I think it's maybe Calmaine would be something. I would love to dig deeper into Calmaine, because when they do have violations or investigations, that's public record. So because they're a publicly owned company, a publicly traded company, I should say, all that stuff is susceptible to FOIA. And so I dug into that a little bit. See, what I really like is that I can look into, I can't spot exactly what financial fraud is or anything like that, but SEC disclosure rules and Sarbanes-Oxley requirements give you a lot, because it's supposed to protect the investor. I feel like a lot more goes into protecting investors than protecting consumers. So I feel like there's a treasure trove at the SEC just waiting for us. I also had to do a fee waiver request, just like you did.
Okay, cool.
And this was cool too, because I had to look at this. The release of these records will contribute significantly to the public understanding of how a foreign-owned corporation with a history of international corruption is being investigated or regulated by the U.S. financial authorities.
I always hesitate to add too much sensational, polarizing language in my fee waiver requests, but whatever.
I like to think that there's somebody at the FOIA, some bureaucrat at the FOIA office or they're like, oh, all right. Because the SEC at the end of the day is not supposed to be helping
Yeah.
JB. They're supposed to be
Unlike
adversarial.
the USDA, which is
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
protect the interest, the economic interest of animal-based protein production.
Yeah, I mean, it's
Hopefully
funny.
the SEC would not have that agenda.
Yeah, hopefully not. Yeah, the SEC is the one coming after you, right? They're like they're like top cop over there. But the USDA, it's so interesting because the USDA's stated purpose is to basically protect and promote the interests of our agriculture in the United States. And the fact that they're the ones that do our food pyramid and our FDAs and all these things are not FDAs, daily recommended amount, RDAs, recommended daily amounts, that they do all of that, where in every other country of the world, it's the equivalent of a surgeon general that does that. Like in Germany, it's the Gesundheitsminister, and in England, it's the health ministerium. But in America, we use the USDA because the agriculture industries own them, and it's freaking. And I think, yeah, it's a different group at the SEC. I hope so anyway. I hope they're not just bought and sold by the people that they the police.
Yeah. And let me just go on to what I was requesting too. I also requested the Arizona Department of Agriculture. The Arizona Department of Agriculture, they just have you email records to this person, R. Smook. So I requested
Mr. Smook.
Yeah, communications from David Byerly, who's the assistant state veterinarian, Ryan Walker, who's the state veterinarian, Paul E. Brierly, which is last name is very similar, who is, I think, the head of the Arizona Department of Agriculture, and the emergency preparedness person, Dwayne C. Uhlig. And I requested any correspondence, attachments, internal communications received by these people referencing avian influenza, H5N1, Hickman, ICE, worker safety, immigration, border patrol, and or depopulation. So we'll see if I get anything from that. Also requested this fee waiver request to...
What did you say a second ago? You said something about disaster readiness. What was that you said?
Yeah, he's like his email was just on their website. So I'm like, oh, that guy, emergency preparedness.
Emergency preparedness. I wonder, that makes me think like FEMA you can FOIA FEMA, and FEMA helps because I've seen them. They help out when farms get flooded with hurricanes and whatnot, and a bunch of cows die or a bunch of pigs die. I bet you there's something with FEMA that we can FOIA when it comes
that
to
would
that
be
stuff.
Interesting, especially with
The payouts.
Hurricane, like especially in North Carolina and
Florida.
Was Georgia, I think, was hit pretty bad by the hurricane. All those states that were hit really bad.
The last big hurricane, yeah.
Last big hurricane, to see if there's any photos or any reports of the devastation. And
oh yeah, or I was thinking like payments or how much it costs to, because I mean there's got to be some form of indemnity even for that, right? I mean, because FEMA kicks in and helps.
Yeah, I wonder. I mean, it should be under the FSA, Farm Services Agency, but I imagine there might be FEMA stuff too.
I mean,
yeah, that would be interesting. Definitely make a note.
No one FOIA's FEMA. I bet we could get that pretty quick. I just took a note. I'm gonna FOIA FEMA.
Yeah. So yeah, let's look at that. Other things in the news is Senator Jack Reed introduced S 1904, known as the Ending Taxpayer Support for Big Egg Producers Act. And I imagine that the American Egg Board has feelings about this. I have in the past not had a lot of luck FOIAing info from the American Egg Board. It's like they either don't email each other or they keep things offline or whatever. So I'm just going to, send a FOIA asking for anything mentioning this act. But I'm also, the pork board seems to talk a lot about these bills and things, and they always have an interest in protecting animal agriculture interests, even when it's like the eggs people. They seem like really invested in that. So I might, FOIA. I have that nice list of pork board people. Might
I
FOIA
wonder
that.
if they use other apps or something. If we say email and they're using
Microsoft
Slack or
Teams.
Yammer or Microsoft Teams.
I say all communications, which should encompass
Yeah.
all communications, but who knows? Maybe we should clarify.
Yeah, I don't know. It's interesting, I think.
Well, yeah. I also FOIA'd the American Egg Board about the Hickman and avian influenza depopulation with any mention of immigration, ICE raids, stuff like that too. So
I think stuff with the ICE raids is going to get bigger and bigger and bigger, and I think it's so interesting to see how it's going to affect these companies and what they're going to say. Again, we're like, it looked, I don't know where we are on slaughterhouse workers. It looks like a certain animal rights organization just put out that we're not going after farm workers and we're not going after slaughterhouse workers. I don't know if that was old news.
Like Trump reversed course on that, and now they
he's
are
flip-flopping. Yeah, now they are. Yeah, it's a weird thing that keeps happening, and I don't know. It's what's the world going to look like when there's no slaughterhouse workers and they're all in Mexico or wherever they're going to, they're on concentration camp, wherever they're putting them,
Yeah, imagine ICE detention centers will have them working in slaughterhouses. I don't know. We'll see for $1 a day.
That's exactly what I think is going to happen. But right now, I mean, there's got to be a hiccup there somewhere, though, right? Like right now, a lot of people are in buildings, like sleeping on floors. There's a courthouse that just has the 10th floor filled with detainees, and they're saying it's not a detention center, and Congress people aren't allowed in. It's a shocking thing that's happening. So that if they don't even have the beds for them right now, how are they going to do this, right? Maybe work release. They'll have work release programs. They'll be back in our communities.
I've heard like they haven't had a change of clothes in 10 days and things like that. It's just awful.
Horror.
So, yeah, well, it'll be interesting to look closely at how the agriculture industry is going to use these people, if they are going to use them.
I think it's clear that that's going to happen. Yeah. Jackie Boyle, I want to say thanks to Jackie Boyle. Thank you for supporting the channel. I appreciate you, Jackie. Yeah, I mean, I think that we need to start FOIAing ICE as much as possible. We're probably not going to get that back quickly. I doubt that we're on their priority list.
Yeah. And I'm just going to put in the chat again our link to our FOIA documents so you can peruse at your leisure all of the interesting FOIA documents we've gotten recently. And if you want to join our FOIA chat, you can. And I'm proposing that if you join our FOIA chat, then you have to submit a FOIA at least once a week. I don't think that's too much to ask because, as we've shown here, it's really easy and doesn't take much time at all to do. And if we all, like if everybody listening right now, which we have 50 people watching right now at the moment, if everybody did one FOIA, we could find a lot of information. So
it's true. We could, and more of it would come back, right? We would have a lot more irons in the fire. I think it'd be great if we could get it's like Fight Club, if the first person, if it's your first night at Fight
that preyed on innocent people who were susceptible to one-liners against capitalism.
Innocent. If it's your first night at FOIA Club, you have to FOIA.
Yeah, no. We understand the true meaning of Fight Club. It was my it was and maybe is still my favorite movie, but I feel like a lot of people don't understand the true meaning of Fight Club, which is
I think there's a different could take and mean a lot of different stuff as you get older, and just like a good classic, it means different things to you at different points in your life. I remember it came out in I think it came out 2007 or
1999.
99.
Right?
Oh my God. Yeah, geez. I saw it in the theater not so long ago when they had some big anniversary for it, and I saw it on the big screen again, and I thought it was so good. And I remember
It is so good, but you know why it's so good? It's because it's the perfect cult movie. It's the perfect movie about a cult because you don't realize what makes a cult work is that you don't realize you're falling for a cult because the cult leader is so charismatic and so likable and so relatable. You think, oh no, this is great and this is very important and this is what we need to do. And you don't realize you've become a minion for this cult and you don't question it. And the cult leader himself is a victim of the cult as well. So, you know,
Well,
it's the perfect explanation for how we become susceptible into a cult and how it's just this vortex of.
The cult leader doesn't know he's a cult leader in that one, though. He's
Yes.
got a.
Cult leaders don't realize they're cult leaders either, and they're constantly saying, "Oh, this isn't a cult," and suddenly the cult spins out of control, and he doesn't. You know, they're asking him, or you know, he's saying, "No, stop doing this," and they're all like, "You told us you would say that."
You told us that you say that, yeah. I want everyone to watch. I remember the book was so good, and Chuck Palahniuk, you know, have you seen or read Choke? The book's way better than the movie on that one, but Choke, same author, also a similar vibe. Maybe you'd like it. The movie is good, but the book is fantastic. And anyway, anybody who likes it's about sex addicts, so the book is a little bit more graphic and more goes into stuff that the movie just can't do, you know, because of the topics. Violence is easier to make a movie about than sexual activity. In America, at least. Maybe they should have made it in Europe. So I did want to do another one kind of on the air today. Would that be okay?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, so like I was going to FOIA USD APHIS for animal welfare, depopulation, CO2 gassing, because I want to see about what
there's any is there any JBS pig operations in the United States? I don't think there are. So
you don't think so?
But I don't know. I could be wrong. Do you know of any?
I thought that
I know there's slaughterhouses.
Doesn't Pilgrim's Pride is owned by, and Pilgrim's Pride definitely gasses pigs.
Well, slaughterhouse gassing, not depopulation gassing, right?
I wanted to look at depopulation events and CO2 gassing.
Oh, so both? Are we talking both slaughter and depopulation?
I want to look at depopulation in particular. In my FOIA that I was looking at was about depopulation events involving emergency depopulation procedures at JPS pork facilities in the U.S. due to COVID, and then ASF, African swine fever, with particular interest.
Yeah, there hasn't been any depopulations related to African swine fever yet.
Never?
It hasn't come across the border yet. But I wonder how much they depopulate due to PRRS, porcine respiratory and reproductive syndrome, which is a common thing that happens, but I've always wondered how much. And I think you're just limiting yourself too much with that FOIA. And are you going to FOIA the USDA Agriculture Marketing Service about that, or APHIS?
I want to do APHIS.
And specifically with APHIS, I don't know.
Because look, I wanted to get expose cruelty in pig depopulation, like the use of CO2 gas and depopulation, waivers for or government approval.
CO2 gas is like one of the less cruel methods of depopulation. Because the other methods like water-based foam, which is awful, and
nitrogen.
But there's nobody doing nitrogen foaming except for experimentally in small numbers.
But internal assessments of animal suffering at JBS, they would still have to have some kind of documentation of those things being done, wouldn't they? Or no?
I don't know. I don't know. I don't know enough about it. Maybe you'll find something. But why limit yourself to CO2? Why not talk about anything involving any depopulation method, ventilation shutdown, especially water-based foam, a captive bolt, or just all depopulation methods? Not, especially like sodium nitrate.
Captive bolt, ventilation shutdown, foam, electrocution, blunt force trauma, and other methods. It also allows investigation into JBS's participation in mass killings during disease outbreaks like COVID-19. It keeps on saying African swine fever.
Mention other companies too, because I just don't know how many JBS farms there are. So maybe like also mention like Smithfield and Christensen's and Prestige.
Water-based foam, blunt force trauma, gunshot, cervical dislocation. Depopulation methods at JBS. All records, including internal memos, veterinary assessment protocols, inspection report, and correspondence. Well, I wanted to get one because I haven't had one come back for a while. I want to kind of limit the scope, and plus I really want to get more about this JBS because I'd like to start. I want to attack JBS. I just want this company that's got so many things, problematic things about it. It's not just going to be about the depopulation, it's the fact that they've been convicted of bribery. They had to pay $3.2 billion in fines to Brazil for the hundreds of millions of dollars.
JBS Live Pork operates sow production facilities in several locations, including Morrilton, Arizona, Lamar, Colorado, Houstonia, Missouri, Windsor, Missouri, Dalhart, Texas, and multiple locations in Iowa and Illinois. Okay.
Yeah, JBS does pigs for sure, and also all their Pilgrim Pride stuff that they are slaughterhouses. They do it.
JBS also contracts with farms for sow production in Arkansas, Oklahoma, and Missouri. Yeah. Maybe you could like ask for specific locations or something, but yeah.
Okay, let's see.
But or just see.
Huh.
JBS to build a $135 million sausage plant in Iowa. Did you see this June 5th?
Oh, I know that they were saying they were going to put how many millions you say?
135 million.
Yeah, I know that they were going to do in Greeley and in there's a few cities that they promised that they're going to put $200 million of investments in around the country. Manufacturing drive, a new pork plant, 135 million. You say, yeah, man, 135 million dollars to build a new one. Yeah, they're promising all of these new investments in America. You know how when Donald Trump or any politician says like, oh yeah, because of all these things, like they're putting so much more money into investing in this country and leaving money here. This is the stuff they're talking about. $135 million from a foreign investor to build a new pork facility.
This investment in Iowa underscores our commitment to rural America and our confidence in the strength of the U.S. market.
That's it. That's how they do it. And that's the rhetoric too. That's exactly that language we hear from our politicians about how they do.
We're excited to see continuing investment in Iowa's pork industry with the proposed opening of this new processing facility, says Aaron Jerkins, a pig farmer from Carroll, Iowa, and president of the Iowa Pork Producers Association. So there you go. I wonder how much money he got in government grants to build that.
Oh, probably more in the form of waivers, I'm guessing, because
there's a lot of like Biden gave so many.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Dollars to build more slaughter plants.
That's true. He actually put more infrastructure down, money from us, from the taxpayer. Well, that's the other thing. These companies are like from Brazil, and they're getting all of this money from us. And it's BS. I don't like it.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm gonna go ahead and share this. This is Oh no, what happened? Something went wrong.
Yeah, that happened to me too. And so I just emailed at my previous APHIS FOIA officer to send my FOIA request because I kept getting an error from the USDA FOIA site.
Weird.
Let's see.
Submit request. APHIS. Okay, so it seems like we're still in. Okay, maybe something educational institution.
Or you are like listing your address up there publicly.
Well, it's not my real address. I put a fake one in there.
Okay.
All right, enter
Well, you can
details.
put Our Honor's address in there.
Prefer. Okay, so I put that in.
Sunset Boulevard, Hollywood, California 90028. Send your checks to us there.
There, you send our checks.
Please, like, do donate to this work. Like, you know, we offer all of these public educational live streams, and we would really use your support. So you go to ourhonor.org/donate to donate to this cause, and we help strengthen the animal protection movement, lending veterinary voices to legitimize animal protection campaigns, because often veterinarians are used to lend legitimacy to animal-based protein and animal exploitation. And we need to push back and do the opposite. We have the power to dismantle public trust in these industries, and we got to use veterinary voices for that purpose. So please do donate. ourhonor.org/donate to help keep this going. If you can't FOIA this week, you know, maybe donate. Maybe if
that's exactly what you should do.
And you don't want to FOIA, then, you know, donate $10 a week every time.
I was going to say 20. Every time you don't FOIA, put $20 in the Our Honor pot. All right, so then it puts a little varied. Make sure it's not. I'm not a communist, and I have now submitted a request successfully. And I think the thing is too, like, if you're just getting into doing FOIA, don't get too caught up with, oh, I don't know about this, if they're not going to give me that. Just do it. You know, like, people, you've got to be in it to win it. You got to play your lottery ticket. I think of it kind of like fishing, and I can't think, it's not a good example because I'm against
like
fishing
or something.
What's that?
Thrift shopping. Thrift store
shopping. Or how about dating? You got to go and you got to talk to people at the bar if you want to, like,
do it. Oh my God, don't talk to the guy at the bar. Don't
talk to guys at the bar.
Don't talk
I've never really done that, like walk up to somebody, hey, how you doing? Never done that in my life. But if you gotta go, you gotta throw your, you gotta do the crane machine to pick up the stuffed animal at the, I don't know.
That guy doesn't really care about you. He's just shooting his shot.
Shooting his shot. Exactly. He doesn't care about you. He doesn't know. He doesn't know you yet. He's just shooting his shot.
Yeah.
Just like us, we don't know if FOIA is going to work out. We just got to shoot our shot. Just throw a hook in the river.
You're not love bombing people. You're not pretending that you have some special connection. We're just literally trying to get documents.
But I do have a special connection because I pay my taxes to the companies, and they are beholden to me. To these agencies, they owe me this service. I paid for it. Yeah,
you paid for it, and you got to get it. And so
I know, that's it. I paid for it, and maybe it turns up nothing, but I want them to scurry along and try to find these infos for me. You know.
Mm-hmm.
I think that makes sense. So that's three FOIAs I've done now for JBS, and I'm going to do more.
Yay. Cool. Well, I'm going tonight to Manning Beef because there is a little demonstration outside of Manning Beef, and there might be some news there that gets talked to. So if you're in the area, in the Los Angeles area, Pico Rivera, come down to Manning Beef and see what's going on.
But it's a vigil, huh? You're gonna hold a candle?
No, I don't hold candles. I'm going to be talking to the news. I'm going to be documenting. I'm going to be saying thoughtful things that need to be said that animal rights activists usually don't say. And how slaughterhouse workers are victims too, and they're not all murderers and stuff. I'm just, holding the rights movement's feet to the fire, making sure that the right points are made.
I mean, technically, I guess they're all murderers, but I guess so are we too. Unless you've never killed an animal, I guess all of us are murderers. I mean, I don't think of myself better than a slaughterhouse worker because there's no statute of limitation on murder, right?
Just like Fight Club, they're all members of the cult.
Well, I mean, I killed animals until I was 25, and a lot of people did. They're still doing it,
Okay. So, as a veterinarian, I have to do that because in our society, we have unwanted animals who do not have the resources to take care of them.
Well, if you pay taxes in America, also, you're killing animals because they're going to 73% of the income of dairies as a tax subsidy. So I killed animals by paying taxes today,
Exactly. None of us is morally superior in this system.
None of us have clean hands.
You are not morally superior to somebody who's not vegan. So,
but I am morally superior to people who aren't filing FOIAs, and that's what I want people to do: is get out there and file some FOIAs, do something about it. If you care about animals and you want to start sticking it to the man and finding out more about these evil corporations, then file a FOIA.
If people aren't filing FOIAs, it's our fault that we haven't done a good enough job convincing people of the importance of filing FOIAs. And just to understand how important this is, the news media loves FOIA documents, especially juicy FOIA documents.
Yeah.
And so not only do we have to file FOIAs, but we have to write press releases about the FOIAs that we get back. And we have to send these to the news media to let them know about these juicy things that we've gotten. One big one that I got a bunch of media attention on was the fact that I found that the pork board had this $8 million program in public universities to enhance consumer trust in pork, which I compared to an industry trying to enhance consumer trust in asbestos or leaded-based paint or leaded fuel. It's ridiculous that they're doing this. And these are the kinds of arguments that we have to make in order to dismantle public trust in animal exploitation. So we can do this. We just need to get more of these juicy documents, send more of these press releases to the media and get these stories published and make good arguments. So if you're inspired by that, join our FOIA chat, and you can go to our FOIA page, look at all of our juicy FOIAs, sign up to join our FOIA chat. Draft a FOIA once a week to stay in the chat. And if you don't draft a FOIA document, then give us $20 to keep it going.
Give us $20 so we can do our own FOIAs. There you go. I like it. I got this bag of potato flakes, like the instant potatoes, like instant mashed potatoes. It was a white and blue bag, and on it said like USDA basic food. I thought that was really interesting. I've never seen something like that. Yeah.
I mean, regular potatoes are pretty easy. Why do you need like packaged potatoes? Like I
think because they're shelf stable, they last, I guess. I don't know. Mashed potatoes, potato flakes. I don't know. I guess people like it because you just put them in a boiling thing. You add some plant-based milk.
Apocalypse, if you just have a bunch of soy curls and dried potatoes, and you're good to go. For
as long as the water's clean, then yeah. I mean that's the problem, right?
I have my little water filter, so I can filter water from the Hollywood Dam, and I'm good to go.
With the right apocalypse, you'll be great, as long as
the nuclear fallout doesn't contaminate the Hollywood Dam.
Yeah, and likely in a nuclear holocaust, you would be vaporized in Los Angeles.
Well,
like you'd be the main target.
A TikTok video on how to survive this, and I have my buildings, cement, and it's got this cement deep parking garage. If you see the blast, apparently go down for however long. I feel just avoid the blast, lay down, keep your mouth open so your teeth don't blow out or something like that. And then wait 2 days before going outside. And then
Run.
try to get as far away as possible after that. And then
right before the radiation gets you. But in Los Angeles, I don't think that's going to be an option.
I feel like we're going to be hit. Like,
yes,
Los Angeles is the place where people are going to fly nuclear weapons. But I also feel like we're going to get a warning. And I'm going to head to Tulare.
How are you going to get out? You won't be able to get out.
I am right on the freeway, just like with the fires. So I can just head right off up into the freeway.
The second you hear those air raid sirens, go.
Yeah.
Do they still test them in LA? When I was a kid, they used to test them.
No, I haven't heard them recently.
And they still test when I was in college. They tested up in the Bay too. This is a test, and they would test the air raid sirens for readiness for tsunamis, earthquakes, and all that stuff. And when there's an earthquake, they play it because it's dangerous. But when I was in LA, when I was a kid, they would play them every once in a while. They play the air raid sirens. Maybe there's not one near you, or maybe you just don't hear it in Hollywood. But
no, I haven't heard any of those recently. Would they just play like out in the open? Like they're not over the radio or anything? Or just
no, they're out in the open. They have to test them every once in a while, make sure they still work. You can still see them, so I'm guessing they still work.
Out and about enough to where I hear them. But
on like a random Thursday at like they used to test them like every whatever Thursday or whatever, once a month they would test them, and I'm guessing we're going to test them again. We'll probably hear them more and more, though, seeing as how things are heating up in the Middle East. But you're probably safe from those, right? Because the missiles got to come from all the way in Europe. You're on the Pacific. Yeah. So you're probably cool.
Yeah, it would probably, it'd go across the East Coast first. So we'd get plenty of warning, I imagine.
Yeah, I mean, the worst, and North Korea is quiet lately. The scary one is like North Korea and China for you, but we're not fighting with them lately. We're fighting with the Middle East all of a sudden. So
yeah, never know.
Who knows?
I don't know. Maybe I'll move. What would be the good place to move to in nuclear war? Because I hear actually there's like nuclear bases in Wyoming and Montana, so you don't want to move there.
If the bad guys know where they are. So this is kind of interesting. When I lived in Virginia, there's this blast zone that the military contractors are aware of, and so in the Shenandoah Valley, and which is maybe an hour and a half, 2 hours away from, and Charlottesville from DC, they have military contractors there because they are geographically far enough to not be in the blast radius of a nuclear event in DC. That's crazy to me. Like, that's why they built these contractors out there instead of in DC, in Arlington or something. So, I mean, you could live outside the blast radius in Los Angeles. Maybe you could live in.
Do you know how John Wayne died? Do you know this, about the nuclear radiation?
Oh, I know that they took his lungs out. I don't know. What do you mean? I thought he died of lung
cancer from nuclear radiation poisoning from filming in St. George's, Utah, where they did the nuclear testing away from it, but the fallout hit St. George.
Weird.
Utah, and they actually took some of that irradiated sand to a Hollywood studio to finish filming, and all of the people associated with filming that movie. And this was a movie about Genghis Khan, where like John Wayne played in Mongolian Genghis Khan.
Yeah.
And Howard Hughes was the one who produced it, and he you can't find this film anywhere. But everybody who was filming that film ended up dying from
the Conqueror. He died of stomach cancer in 1979, but there's speculation from the controversy surrounding whether radiation exposure contributed to his cancer.
Yeah, and everybody on the set ended up dying of cancer too.
Yeah, they say that many cases do cause many of the factors cause cancer. He was a smoker, and it's impossible to definitively say if radiation was a contributing factor. I like this story though.
Yeah.
Yeah, RKO radioactive picture. It was the name of, they named it the film was later dubbed an RKO radioactive picture due to the potential exposure of the cast and crew to radiation. Wow.
Mm.
But he was a heavy smoker, and his wife attributed his cancer to smoking.
But what about all of the crew and cast and crew who died too?
Yeah, this says that a lot of people did get sick, but yeah. That could be the thing though. Maybe the people who are already kind of got cancers going, the the radiation kind of cranks them to 11, and the people who were healthy made it. Who knows?
Yeah.
That's weird though. I didn't know that about John Wayne. I know that he died of cancer and cigarettes is what I always heard, but yeah, I don't want to die that way. I've heard very bad things about dying of lung cancer though too. So stomach cancer too is supposed to be horrible.
Yeah. So it sucks.
Like,
so let's not irradiate ourselves.
Let's not irradiate ourselves, Crystal. And so I think that if we just don't have nuclear war, we're good. Let's just work towards that. I don't think we're gonna get nuked though. I just don't. They were so afraid of it through the 50s.
Yeah. We have so much ability. I would think if there is a missile fired at us to shoot it out of the sky to divert it. But is there like another way that a nuclear weapon would be brought to us? I don't know. Or just, other bad weapons.
Oh, like a dirty bomb.
Dirty bomb.
Well, the Star Wars program was supposed to be allowed to shoot them out of the sky from satellites. We never really built that though.
No, we never built. Oh shoot.
No, we never did it. But
not learning Spanish a little bit better. It's like I wish I did,
but Donald Trump is talking about a golden dome like the one they have in Israel. But the thing is, if a nuke exploded even near, because that's the thing, they blow up before they hit. They don't usually fall. They detonate them over the city. So it would still mess you up. All the fallout would still kill you. They say that though the electromagnetic pulse from them is enough to
the Wi-Fi. Like if I'm not going to have Wi-Fi, that's the thing about Iran right now. I know some people who have friends in Iran, and Iran hasn't had internet for 3 days.
Yeah,
and I know Elon Musk was trying to get Starlink there. If you had the foresight to get a Starlink, would you be okay in Iran without? Would you have Wi-Fi, or is there some way that Iran is preventing anybody in there from having internet?
Well, Israel's preventing Iran, right?
Whatever. Yeah. I don't know what's happening, honestly.
Well, you'd still have to have power though, and they blow up the power grid.
Have power. Is that okay? Well, I would have power because I have a generator.
You would have power, so you might be able to still have.
And Wi-Fi. My generator has a solar panel too. I can connect to. I'm a prepper. Like you're a prepper. I've got this figured out, and I'm tweaking my survival strategy.
Neil Strauss wrote a book, and it was about this. It was about doomsday preppers, where he embeds himself with doomsday prepper communities, and he learns all the different ways that he can survive. And he has a bug out bag, and he has all these things. I feel like growing up in California, we get a little bit of that anyway, because I don't know, when you were a kid at my school, every year you had to bring like a Tupperware foot locker, almost a pretty sizable Tupperware thing, big, and you put like some food in for some few days. It had to last all semester though, all school year, that is. And one of those emergency blankets, those silver ones. You had one of those. You had a bunch of stuff in there, but then you could add stuff. You had to have water, and then they kept that in case we had a mega earthquake and we wouldn't be able to get home, and we had to sleep at school. So we had to bring those to school. Did you have to do that?
I think so. We.
And at the end of the year, we threw a little party with the other kids. Like we would all open it, and we would we'd take out the blankets and run around with them, and we would eat the whatever garbage food, like crackers,
Yeah.
stuff that lasts, right? That
Keep
we
a
had
lot
in there.
of protein bars at the ready, so I have always a week of food with me at all times, depending on what happens.
And you
And
got this.
I'm a maximalist, so
you'll be fine. We'll go to your house. When I
don't
lived in
come to my house because I've only got enough for myself. Well, no,
Dang
maybe
it.
I have some for a few other people, but
Well, I'll bring food, but I wouldn't I wouldn't want to be anywhere near LA. I was just joking. When I lived in Virginia, I always thought that I had friends who owned farms, and I was like, man, if something really does go down, because back then we were still talking about 9/11 stuff. We were at war in Afghanistan. We were still people were talking about that stuff, dirty bombs, DC is going to get hit. I was like, man, if something does happen, I'm going to one of these farms. Usually they've got plenty of room for people. They know how to use guns.
yeah.
And
also, one thing I'm thinking about getting is weapons. So,
I'm thinking about that all the time. Next
you
time,
haven't gotten a weapon yet?
I need to go to Nevada. When we were in Colorado, I did think about stopping.
We should have.
We could have checked a bag, put a firearm in the bag.
Of course I check bags all the time.
Yeah,
so
but that's what I mean. If we go to a state where the guns are cheap and easy to get, then we should just stop at a gun shop.
Yeah.
Because you could just walk into a gun shop and pull one out, or just go to a gun. What we should do is go to a gun show and take pictures and see what they got. That's the way to do it, I think. And when Joseph and I were going around the country, he always wanted to go to gun. There's always gun shows going on. We just keep our eye open.
Vegans.org. This is our new nonprofit. I think vegans.org is available.
Vegans.
Vegans.
It's a vegan gun club. Well, yeah, I mean, I would love to do that. Plus, there's a shooting range in Stanton, California. That's kind of like between you and me.
Mm-hmm.
And it's supposed to be a great shooting range. Want to go there? I don't know.
Vegans.org is available. God, should I buy it? It's such a good name.
Y'all making vegans sound like conspiracy theorists.
It's a really good name.
Vegans.
Yeah.
It should only if you really want to get buff.
I mean, it could be both. It could be vegans with guns and vegans with, suns out, vegans out, that sort of thing too.
Vegans. It's the vegan shooting club of California.
God, vegans.
Get shirts made.
I feel like I should just buy it now, just because I've mentioned it. Somebody else is going to buy it from under me,
and then charge you thousands of dollars.
$66 confirming the order.
Well, if anybody wants to write a FOIA or join our FOIA club, please do so. And we are going to see you next Friday for the next FOIA Friday, where we will continue to dig deeper into the corruption, collusion, and shenanigans of these companies and agencies with government.
And remember to donate, ourhonor.org/donate. Please help us keep this thing going. We really need your support. So if you like what we're doing, if you like all these news stories, and I hear New York Times op-ed is worth $100,000. So, or New York Times front page story, which we got. How much is that worth? That's priceless. So if you want to keep the animal protection movement strong, support our work.
If you want to help animals, support our work. ourhonor.org/donate, in case you didn't hear that. Thank you, everybody, for joining us today. Thank you, Crystal. And I hope you'll have fun at Manning and get lots of information out to the people. Not fun, really, but you know what I mean.
I hope it's productive,
Hope productive. Exactly.
All right. See y'all later.
Bye, everybody.
Freedom of information. Friday.
That's the government worker right there. He works for us.